Join the conversation here on TalkTimidRadio.com.
This is The Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller, heard exclusively on TalkTimidRadio.com, the world's greatest radio. Radio the way it should be heard. And now, Mr. Neely Fuller.
If you do not understand white supremacy, which is racism, what it is and how it works, everything else that you understand will only confuse you. Only confuse you. Only confuse you.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome to TalkTimidRadio.com. On the world's greatest radio, you are now listening to the greatest program on the greatest station in the world, TalkTimidRadio.com. The program is entitled The Compensatory Concept with Mr.
.com, the world.
I am your co-host, Mr. Bobby, and our topic today, lead topic, will be cleanup. Basically, we're going to clean up the Gmails that you have sent in, but clean up in the system of racism, which is white supremacy. On the line from Washington, D.C. is Mr. Neely Fuller, Jr. He does this every week, and he will take your calls, and he will also attempt to make suggestions to your emails and try to answer them. But you can call into the show if you would like. And second of all, thanks for listening. We want to get that out to you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in, because you don't have to do this, but you do, because you are anxious to hear the words of Mr. Fuller. One of the things that is in the news, and Mr. Fuller is on the line live from Washington, D.C., and we will introduce him to you in just a moment, is what's been going on in Sacramento, California. And I've been getting a lot of calls, a lot of Gmails, a lot of communication, a lot of meetings and discussions, and we will ask Mr. Fuller about that. Mr. Fuller, good morning, and how are you this morning?
Good morning. I'm still learning.
You are still learning. Sound very strong here. Very good. To get in contact with the show, call 1-877-932-9766. That's 1-877-932-9766. Now, if you would like to see and hear the show live while it's going on, all you have to do is go to the YouTube channel and type in the word Talktainment. Hit the space bar and type in the word radio, and then scroll down to Talktainment number 2 live on YouTube, and you can watch the entire broadcast. While you are there, hit the subscribe button and the like button, and we'll be happy about that. You can also access the show by the email, the numeral 7, Mr. Bobby, B-O-B-B-Y, at gmail.com, and if I get time, because there are a few that are going to be ahead of you, I will try to get to that, or if not, on a next program. And also, if you want to view and see and hear the entire broadcast, you can go to facebook.com/Talktainment, and you can review the show. Okay, with all that out of the way, Mr. Fuller, before we get into the cleanup section of it, a lot of people have been calling me and writing me, and there's been a lot of discussions about this youth that got killed in his, I think, grandparents, or at least the grandmother's backyard by the police. From what I gather from the news, I think he was shot 20 times. Just killed. It looked like it would be a suicide. But one of the things that I thought about is something that you always say, the 3 F's. Don't fuss, don't fight, and don't flee. And the video that was allowed to be shown on TV showed the young man fleeing from in his grandmother's backyard, and the police came and opened up some shots on him and fired and struck him. I think 20 times. He had bullet holes in him. The one thing that really bothers a lot of people was that the policemen muted their button, I guess with their camera or whatever. They muted it so that whatever was being said could not be heard. And people ask me, what would you think, what would Mr. Fuller say? Well, I can't speak for you, Mr. Fuller, but on your review of the news and of what you have seen, what say you, or what would you suggest some possible things that happened there as what we were allowed to see?
From what I saw and from what I've heard, what I've read, I still say the same thing I've always been saying. I don't deviate from what I'm saying. Once I find out the situation that black people are in worldwide, we are in a world prison. The name of that prison is called the system of white supremacy. And what does that mean? It means if you're a person who is classified as non-white, black, brown, red, yellow, tan, beige, in other words, a person who has color in his or her skin, sometimes referred to as a person of color. And a person of color in the system of white supremacy, which is what I say is a world government, the only world government that really counts, the world government that has the most muscle, the world government that governs how everybody is going to behave on this planet from minute to minute every day. That is a prison for the non-white people. And the non-white people, in my opinion, of this planet must realize that they're in prison, that all of the people who are breathing now on this planet are in the system of white supremacy, and the system of white supremacy is a prison for the non-white people of the planet, and those prisoners are the non-white people of this planet. They are the people who are born in prison. And with all of the rules of the prison of war, of a prisoner of war, they apply to the non-white people. Just look up all the rules that govern, if you are a prisoner of war, the rules that govern you as a prisoner of war. All right? That's the way I choose to look at it, because I think that's exactly the way that it is. Now, just because I'm saying that that's the way it is, it may not be that way. Some people have used the word perception, say, well, Neely Fuller perceives it that way. But just because he perceives it that way doesn't necessarily mean that it's true. So I say that it's true, because that's how I perceive it. I don't want to perceive it that way, but I think I'm forced to perceive it that way based on the things that happen. Because from what I understand, I've never been a so-called prisoner of war. I mean, like you see in the movies and all like that. But like when I look at things like the movie Schindler's List, or I read about World War II and prisoners of war who were shot down over Germany, I mean, and what the prison conditions were like. And I read about the Japanese who were in this area of the world who were rounded up on the West Coast and put into stockades and barracks out in the middle of the deserts in different places and whatnot. I mean, people of Japanese ancestry. And there were guards with rifles standing around, bayonets fixed. I've seen pictures of that. And the indication is you go for that fence. Now, there's a fence around this place, all right? And the rules of this prison, you're prisoners of war because we're in a war. Now, if you go anywhere near that fence, the rule is we don't ask any questions. Why are you near the fence? You're dead. And if you touch that fence, it looks like you're going through that fence. In other words, you're getting out of this prison. You're trying to flee. If we get any indication, I've heard about all prisoner of war rules, any indication that you're trying to run away, and I don't want you to run away, and you are determined that you are going to run away, I'm going to kill you. That's it. Now, I'm saying, according to the code, what I have written, we're prisoners of war. And every black person should expect, if a white person says, stay right where you are, do what I tell you to do, or I'm going to do harm to you, you must assume that as a prisoner of war, that harm means you're going to be dead. This is no game. This is not some kind of little falling out among friends. You're a prisoner of war, black fella. You are a prisoner of war. You're born in prison. Now, you are my prisoner if I'm a white supremacist. Not all white people, but the white supremacist voice says, you are my prisoner. You do what I say do, when I say do it. You come when I say come. You go when I say go. Now, anytime you break any of those laws of this prison, as an inmate of this prison, I'm going to gun you down, and I'm going to tell you something else. You don't know anybody big enough and bad enough to do anything about it. So why would you do something stupid like that? Like walk away from me, and I told you, don't walk away. Excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
Don't walk away from me. Don't run away from me. Don't act like I'm not your boss, because I am your boss. And you'll find all kinds of bullets or whatever, cannon fire, whatever. I mean, a cannon shell might hit you. You talking about some bullets. I got stuff that'll hit you. I mean, that'll, hey, that'll send a real message. I got every kind of bomb that you can name. I'm an expert bomb maker. You think that you can just walk away from me and say that you're on your way back to wherever you're going, your grandmother's house, or back to the hood where you'll be safe? You're not safe nowhere from me if I want you.
Mm-hmm.
And I have proven that to you and every last one of your ancestors. Now, somebody needs to teach you that. Your grandmother or somebody needs to teach you, hey, don't fuss, don't fight, don't flee.
Mm-hmm.
You're in a prison camp.
Yes,
You go anywhere
Yes, sir.
outside the limits that I told you not to go. You're dead. And you're going to continue. And all the rest of you out here who got candles and marches and all like that, you tried, and you're going to be dead. Now, if you don't believe it, try it in the next 5 minutes and see, don't you get the same thing. And I'm going to tell you something else. You think that rioting and all like that is going to get you something. We don't care nothing about riots. I mean, we repair houses and rebuild houses even when a flood wipes out an entire city. You think you can tear up enough to change our minds? You
Wow.
don't know anything about how we operate.
Yes.
We run whole planets.
Yes,
You
sir.
can't even run a grocery store. So do what we tell you to do when we tell you to do it, Negro.
Wow. Ed, before I take the phone call, do we have a video of that shooting, or could you put that on the screen while we go there? And let's take this call too. Caller, line number one. Okay, line number one. You are now on with Mr. Fuller. What is your question, please?
Okay, I'd like to ask for permission to ask a quick question and then maybe a follow-up.
Go ahead, sir.
All right. Mr. Fuller, have you ever, since, I guess, the last 30 years or so, have you ever been able to positively identify a white supremacist?
Well, the code requires me, and I decided a long time ago to adhere to it. This is what the code says. If a person who is classified as white in the system of white supremacy, which is the only real government on the planet, a person who is classified as white is classified as white and acts like a white person and says that he or she is a white person in the system of white supremacy, I am duty bound as a victim of white supremacy, this is a duty to suspect that that white person is a racist if he or she is able to be one. That's the only criteria. Why? Based on logic. When you're in a system of white supremacy, somebody's got to be a white supremacist. So now let's ask some questions. How do you know who the somebody is? Where is the master list of everybody who is a white supremacist and everybody who is not? Is there a reference book? Is there a computer that you can go to? Is there a website that you can go to? And you can scroll down and say, you know, I met this white guy today, or this white lady today, and she doesn't seem like a racist to me. And, you know, I mean, we get along fine, and, you know, and we have conversations. I mean, they're always very helpful and all like that. And so her name is Helen Shows. Let's just say that for an example. Or Helen Smith, or Mary Jones. And it's this nice white lady down the block. And so I'm going to my computer, and I'm going to see if her name is on the racist list. And I don't think you'll find, you know, any website that lists all of the white supremacists on the planet and lists everybody who isn't a white supremacist, because that's really what we need. So there will be what? Clarity, no confusion. But right now, I'm confused. And the code says confusion is deadly in the system of white supremacy. So if I'm a confused black person, prisoner of war, and I don't know who is a white supremacist and who is not, in a world that's dominated by white supremacists, then I am in grave danger for lack of knowledge. So that means I have to be cautious about every white person who I think might be able to be a white supremacist. That's the logic I have to follow. It's not personal, it's business. I mean, you know, I'm walking around in the prison yard, and I don't know which one of those guards, I mean, in that uniform, that white uniform, which is what the uniform is of white supremacy, or white skin, I don't know which one is authorized to shoot me or not. So I just don't go nowhere near that fence. Anywhere I'm around them, anytime I see any one of them, I don't assume, well, that's one of them that won't shoot me. No, I'm in a system of white supremacy. Not only that, I know that those guards are authorized to shoot me if I go anywhere trying to get out of the system of white supremacy. I know that. I'm a prisoner of war, all right? As a war prisoner, they are not only authorized, they have a duty to kill me if they choose to do so. And it looks like I'm really breaking the rules of the prison. And so in answer to the question, if the person who is classified as white is able to be a white supremacist, a racist, he or she most likely may be one in the system of white supremacy. And that is the rule that I follow without exception every minute of every day. And I advocate that everybody else who is non-white do the same thing. Otherwise, break out some more candles and balloons and get ready to start hugging all your neighbors, because you forget we're in a system of white supremacy. A prison system that's designed to see to it that a whole bunch of black people are going to be dead before the end of this year. It's designed to do that. All right?
Yes, sir. What's your second question, follow-up question, sir?
My follow-up was basically I wanted to say that these broadcasts are probably some of the most important broadcasts that we have, because we have someone who has probably seen a lot of different generations of racism, and it's important that we stick to the message, stick to the topics, and don't really like go off of subject and wander off into subjects that don't pertain to the code or anything like that, because these broadcasts are probably going to be historically some of the most important broadcasts for us, due to the fact that we're not given wisdom, and we're not giving the breakdown of experience in most entertainment or most conversations. So it's important that we really try and do as much as we can with these 2 hours we got, Mr. Fuller, and not create more confusion by adding things that don't matter.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you.
Thank you so much. You know, that's why I say, Mr. Fuller did not say this, but this is what I say, that this is the most, we're blessed to have the most powerful program on the planet. Now, this is my opinion. Neely Fuller did not say that, because as the gentleman just stated, and I did not tell this gentleman to call in and say this, but this is very important. This is the greatest program outside of the creator that you can hear the truth. Unadulterated. Neely Fuller and I do not get on the phone and discuss what we're going to say. It's right off the cuff, as is mistakes and everything, well, especially on my part. But it is important, like the brother said, that we stay on message. Now, Mr. Fuller, you've mentioned in this that we're in this prison system that you've been trying to get that message across. This young man, which we have his picture on the screen, on our screen for those of you who are looking at it via Facebook, I believe Ed did show the video of that. I don't know if I don't know what he was thinking. And I don't know if it got across to him. But again, you mentioned the 3 F's. And I emphasize that because you have written this or suggested this, that when you are confronted by law enforcement or police, don't fuss, don't fight, don't flee, because the end result is going to be in death. Now, when we go out to do whatever we do, Mr. Fuller, that possibility of death by those white supremacists is always present, correct?
Yes, and even if you are standing ramrod still, I mean, like attention, like a soldier, and you're standing, as a prisoner of war. I mean, that's what they regard you as being. The white supremacists do. So you stand at attention. I mean, look straight ahead. Don't say nothing. I mean, because you've been told. Stand at attention, boy. Stand at attention. Straighten up, Stare into space. Let me walk around and check you out. All right? Well, you're a prisoner of war. Do that. I mean, do that. I do that. I will do that in a minute. I'll continue to do that. I know where I am. I don't play games because I know they're not playing with me.
Mm-hmm.
See what I mean? We think that this is some kind of schoolyard dispute between our good buddies. I mean, no, this is a war, folks. Black people of the entire world, you're prisoners of war. And if you think you're somewhere else in La La Land or someplace in Oz, in Shangri-La, in paradise, in heaven, you're greatly in error.
Greatly.
And all of the evidence shows this.
Mm-hmm.
It keeps repeatedly showing us. But many of us don't seem, I can't make a criticism. I'm just saying we fuss, we fight, we flee. Like this is just a little misunderstanding between friends. And so I ain't paying no attention to you. I'm going home, hey, I got things to do. I don't have time to be bothered with you. You telling me to don't move and get out of the car. And I ain't doing none of that. I know my rights. Hey, you're black. You're in a prison camp designed to do great harm to anybody of color. That's who you are. You were born in this prison. Don't forget that, not for 3 seconds. Or you just might not be doing anything at all tomorrow.
Yes, sir. TalkToHim@radio.com is a 24/7 no-charge worldwide broadcasting facility with hosts delivering on various topics such as news and lifestyle, sports, law, health, wellness, religion, and politics. Now, here's one that I'd like to share with you, and this is the promotion of my show, which is Talking Sports with Mr. Bobby. Now, premiering this Tuesday, April the 2nd? Yes, April the 2nd. I'm looking at Ed, he's looking at me, and, and he says yes. Pardon me. Premiering this Tuesday, April the 2nd, from 6 to 7 p.m., is Talking Sports with Mr. Bobby, and we have as a special guest confirmed the University of Minnesota's assistant women's basketball coach, Nikki Lowry Dawkins. Now, she'll be in town for the women's Final Four here in Columbus, Ohio, which starts on Friday, and I believe Friday and then Sunday is the conclusion of it. But and she will not be in the station, but she will call in at around the 6:10 hour. So we're going to have about 15 or 20 minutes to interview her to find out the latest insights on women's with basketball and her experiences with the Final Four, women's Final Four, which is held here in Columbus, Ohio for this year. So make sure that you tune in to Talking Sports with Mr. Bobby, heard exclusively on TalkToHim@radio.com, radio the way it should be heard, premiering every other Tuesday from 6 p.m. until 7 p.m. And while you are there, you can have an opportunity to view the other programs that Talktainment has to offer. TalkToHim@radio.com, just click on programs with the scheduled times and little bios of everybody. And that's from radio, the way it should be heard. Stay right there. We're going to get into the Gmails and have Mr. Fuller answer more of your questions right here on TalkToHim@radio.com. Air topic today is cleanup, which we will try to get into. Cleanup in the system of racism, which is white supremacy. Basically, we're going to try to clean up these Gmails if we can. We have quite a few, so we want to hit those. I made a mistake in the earlier segment 1 about the debut of my show, saying that it was April the 2nd, which is Monday. It is April the 3rd. April the 3rd from 6 p.m. until 7 p.m. We will have the assistant women's basketball coach of the University of Minnesota, that is Nikki Lowry Dawkins. She'll be online discussing the women's portion of the sporting events. That's on the 3rd of April. All right, coming up this Tuesday. Okay, going to the Gmails. Mr. Fuller, this comes from Brother Thompson. He says, gotta love the way that white people have always tried to claim Kemet or Egypt, knowing full well that these people were purple black solaroids who could simply eat the sun and not even require food until the fall occurred. All of Africa came there not only to learn, but to defend the mother continent from the Eurasians, always trying to invade from the east. It was like a moat or dam, but eventually the savages broke through, and we all know the rest. Mr. Fuller, why would a culture paint people of another color other than themselves? We even have the remains to confirm this. They are such desperate and delusional losers to still be clinging to their lies, but it's all they have. Could you give some insight on that, Mr. Fuller?
I don't understand that question at all. Why would people do what?
Why would the invading people, the Eurasians, try to claim Egypt and Kemet as basically their own when they have archaeological evidence, drawings, and so forth that show that the African people or dark-skinned people were there in the first place, or there originally? Why would the white people or the racists claim it to be theirs?
Well, the white supremacists claim by their actions that they are supreme. And they have said, some of them, back in the old days, they just said it outright. there's an expression that just about covers it all. God made white people to serve God. Now, this is what a person who said he was a white supremacist said. Hey, said people, they act like they don't understand our philosophy. We're going to make it clear. And at least one of them, I mean, sometimes they have differences themselves about how they express themselves, and so you can just listen to that and sort out the differences. But at least one of them said back in the 1940s and 50s, he said, look, it's not complicated. God made white people to serve God and made Negroes, only he said the N-word,
yes,
to serve white people. And all this stuff about whose land is whose and all like that, he said, forget about that. God made white people to serve God and made these black people to serve white people. And if everybody just shut up and leave it alone, everybody will be happy, and this will make the paradise on earth that we should have. I mean, just let it stay that way, and let it get more that way, and keep it that way, and it'll be the way it ought to be. And that everybody who's trying to do something different, it is our duty to see to it that they don't do anything different. Because God made white people to serve God and made all these dark-skinned people to do whatever white people tell them to do and shut up about it. Now, that takes care of the land and everything else. I mean, just that philosophy alone, it explains everything. But black people will listen to that and say, he can't mean that. Oh, yeah, he means that. He means that. She means that. And they have proven that they mean it. So all this stuff about we built the pyramids and our ancestors came from this place, that doesn't mean anything to a white supremacist. Boy, I don't care where you are from. When you run into me, you do what I say. Do you understand that? And if you don't understand it, I can make you understand it because it fell on you. You'll think that a pyramid fell on your head after I get through with you.
Wow.
Talking about you built the pyramids. What do I care about whatever you built? You do what I tell you to do, and everything will be right in line. As long as you do what I tell you to do, no problem. If I tell you to change your sex, change it. If I tell you to go up there and jump off that cliff, jump.
Yes. Okay.
Whatever I tell you to do. Why? Because I'm doing my God's will. What about your God? You must have a pretty weak one. You black people always talk about you got some kind of God. Your God ain't got nothing for me. I'm a white supremacist.
Yeah. Let's go to the phone lines. Line number one, you're on with Mr. Fuller. Go ahead.
Good morning, Mr. Bobby and Mr. Fuller. I have two questions for Mr. Fuller.
Yeah, go
Hello?
ahead. Yeah.
Okay, yes, sir. Mr. Fuller, speaking to the political system or idea of racism, white supremacy, and at its inception, do you think that the motivation and the motivation to dominate non-white people was a motivation enough, or do you think that was a byproduct of world domination, meaning that as white people we would go out and dominate the world, and whatever non-white people we encounter, we will dominate and mistreat them?
Mr. Fuller?
You mean the origin of white supremacy? How did it come about?
No, sir, not the origin of white supremacy. I'm saying, well, if we look at its inception, I don't know a white supremacist named Sir Brian. He wouldn't say, well, we're going to just go find all non-white people and put them in chains. It was, do you think the motivation was, well, we're going to go out and dominate the world and every square inch of the planet, and whatever non-white people we encounter, or whatever people we encounter, culture, we're going to dominate and mistreat them.
Oh, I've said it on this program, and I say it in the textbook. Fun, glory, and material comfort. That's what everybody wants. Squirrels want that. What do squirrels want? I've watched squirrels in the park. And I see them, playing little games with each other and whatnot. I see them looking for food and whatnot. I mean, that's material comfort and all like that. So it's fun, glory. I mean, a peacock kind of, steps around, wants to be kind of proud of itself, they say. I mean, it shows off its feathers and whatnot. I mean, that's glory. I mean, want to get somebody's attention to think that, well, maybe I'm worthy of something. I'm worthy of your attention. That's why people try to get other people's attention, because, they dress up or do something or put something on or take something off. I mean, to get somebody's attention and say, I'm worthy of you paying me some attention. I'm a worthy person. I am somebody who can contribute something of value to the world. Pay attention to me. That's what you call glory. When people strut around in parades and whatnot, they're saying, pay attention to me. I am worthy of you stopping whatever you're doing and pay attention to me for a little while, because I am of some benefit to you that you may not be aware of. That's what glory is. So the white supremacists like fun, they like glory, just like all organisms do, and they like material comfort. So the white supremacists just looked at the world, the first white people who decided they want to practice a system called the system of white supremacy, and they invented it, apparently, from all of the evidence. They say, let's invent a system where if you're white, you are supreme, you're royal. All right, if your skin is white, or it kind of looks like it's white, all right, or we just classify it as white. We'll just say that it's white, okay? We'll use that term. And we'll say, okay, well, white, then we'll add the word supreme, and we'll call it racism and or racism, and that will mean what? That will mean that if you're classified as white, you are royal, and you should have domination over everybody who is what? Non-white. Say, well, who will be the non-white people? Whoever we say that they are. Hey, we'll mix and match it and all like that, but we'll just, we'll be in control of that. We'll do all the classifying. We won't let them classify themselves. All right, or, hey, you can't have control like that. Say, we do the classifying. We say who's white and who's not. Okay? And every now and then we might even give some black people with, some people of color, honorary white positions. I mean, just a few of them every now and then, I mean, just to carry out what we do. We'll kind of tweak it a little bit every now and then, but not on a grand scale. And they put that idea out there, and it took off and became the most powerful political and religious idea ever conceived in the minds of people. According to what? Neely Fuller? No. According to all the evidence. I mean, there's no religion stronger than the religion of white supremacy.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
All right.
What is your second question, sir? Quickly.
Okay, well, so wouldn't the only logical conclusion would be to create a planet where racism cannot function, meaning if white people and non-white people come into contact with each other, there would be no possible way for the white people to dominate and mistreat non-white people?
Okay, thank you for your question. Mr. Fuller?
Thank you, sir.
Yes, the goal is to produce a situation. That is what I consider my duty and the duty of every person, really, including all the white people who believe in doing things the way they ought to be done. You replace the system of white supremacy with just one thing, a system of justice.
Yes, sir.
Now, what is justice? Guaranteeing that no person is mistreated. I don't care who that person is. You got to guarantee that, or you cannot have justice by any stretch of the imagination. That's impossible. If you've got anybody being mistreated, you don't have justice.
Right.
All right? That's number one. Now, number two, you got to have another guarantee there. First, You got to guarantee that no person is mistreated.
Mm-hmm.
Now you got to also guarantee that the person that needs help the most gets the most constructive help.
Got to guarantee
under
it.
every circumstance. You got to guarantee it. Underline those terms, guarantee. If you don't guarantee that, you don't have justice. And if you don't have justice, you might as well keep white supremacy. I mean, you know, I don't care what you try to replace it with. You got to replace it with justice.
Yes.
Otherwise, why, you know, might as well keep white supremacy as a gangster operation.
Okay.
All right, we have all been trained to love gangsterism, okay, by the white supremacists. So you might as well just keep this gangster operation. If you're going to just go out and try to replace it with another gangster operation, what's the point?
What's the point?
I mean, you might as well keep the gangster operation that you got. It's off and running.
Okay.
Okay, that's the logic.
That's the logic behind it. Okay, let's do this. Mr. Fuller, this is the 45-minute mark. I need you to briefly discuss your book, how we can get it, the title, and any latest information, because I'm getting a lot of people from overseas that want to know what's going on. So could you go ahead and speak to that, please?
Well, somebody's supposed to be working on correcting whatever that problem is. And I'm steady trying to get back with them and find out if there's a problem about the overseas shipments, because there are two places where it's supposed to be going with no glitches, Canada and England. And I'm trying to get it, you know, jump off places from there, from England itself. I mean, to span out all over the world, because there's a world problem. I'd like for my book to be out there in the mix with all the other books that are out there all over the world, where people can at least look at it and see what they think.
Yes.
Because that's why I wrote the book.
Okay.
And I had a talk with somebody yesterday about why I wrote the book. I wrote the book not to be dictatorial. It's just a book of suggestions about solving problems, because the world is full of problems. And I have on the back of the book, you can't solve any major problem on this planet, in my opinion. This is strictly my opinion. Based on logic, I'd like to think no major problem that exists between the people of the known universe can be eliminated until racism is eliminated.
Yeah, I'm looking at that, yes.
Yes, all right, that's right on the back of the book.
It sure is.
I keep it there, all right, and I keep telling people that. They say, well, we got this problem here and that problem there. I say, is it a major problem? They say, yeah, it's a major problem in one of the major areas of activity. It's a major problem in the area of politics or the area of law or in the area of labor. And I say, well, you're going to have to go through the white supremacists to solve that problem. And they are not trying to solve a problem in labor for the non-white people of this planet. They're trying to make it worse. Or, you know, if you've got a labor problem, or if you have an economic problem, or the people are not being educated, the second area of activity. And if you're a person of color, and you're talking about setting up some kind of school somewhere, anywhere on the planet, the white supremacists will take a look at your school and say, wait a minute, your school, it better be teaching something that supports what I'm doing to you. Otherwise, I'm going to de-credentialize your school. And you say, well, this is my school, you know. Oh, that's your school on my planet? You don't understand white supremacy, fella, lady. You don't understand anything about us. But we can make you understand in about 2 seconds. Now, you do what I say do. Shut this place down right now. Well, I'm going to burn it down. And you don't know anybody big enough to stop me. No person of color nowhere on this planet big enough to stop me. Now you understand white supremacy. Because when you look around for some help, all you can do is burn a few candles and say a few prayers and moan for a better day. Because you don't know anybody who can come to your rescue when I, as a white supremacist, get on your trail. Name somebody.
Mm-hmm. Where can we get the book, and what is the name of the book?
You can get the book by going to producejustice.com, and the name of the book, the basic book, well, the basic title is the United Independent Compensatory Code System Concept, but that doesn't mean anything until you read what it means in the book. But it's basically a counter-racist code It's a code that's designed, in other words, suggestions, that's what it is, that's designed to help the individual person to get through each and every day.
The individual person.
The individual person. A lot of people say, well, Fuller, I got an organization and all like that. Well, people in the organizations can use the code, but it's not an organizational code, except the code is designed for the individual person.
Okay.
Who can then join organizations and use some of the stuff that's in the code book and all like that. But it's not a code designed to help you to organize anything except yourself, where you become, as an individual person, an organization within yourself. And that's a unique, that's a unique concept.
It sure
and
is.
you can get the book and the word guide, because words are very important, by going to producejustice.com.
All righty. Talktainmentradio.com. We go where you go. Download the talktainmentradio.com to your app or to your cell. That's radio the way it should be heard. I am Mr. Bobby. I am the co-host on the compensatory concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. If you'd like to get in contact with the show, do this. Call 1-877-932-9766. You can Gmail me at the numero 7, MrBobby@gmail.com. You can also do this. You can go to the YouTube channel for the broadcast of the compensatory concept. Type in the word Talktainment, hit the space bar, then hit the word radio, and scroll down to Talktainment number 2 live on YouTube. There you can watch the program, you can hear the program, and while you're there, hit the subscribe and like button. And finally, you can do this. After the show's over, you miss something, go to facebook.com/Talktainment, and you can hear the entire program. Okay, let's go to the phone lines. Line number 2. Line number 2, you are on with Mr. Fuller. Go ahead, please.
Greetings, can I be heard?
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, sir. To Mr. Fuller, can there be legitimate talk on something called gun control and very little, if no, talk on the global system of racism, white supremacy?
Well, you talk about both if people permit you to talk. Guns should be controlled, and that's why guns have handles on them and triggers. And they have locks on them, too. That's a form of control on the gun itself. People who make some guns figured out a long time ago, hey, we got a gun here, but we don't have a way of, we need to put something on here to lock this trigger. I know I've been in what they call the military, and the firearms that I handle, they had some type of control over them. I noticed they would lock them up sometimes. Sometimes they'd put them in racks so that even the soldiers who were supposed to use them couldn't get them. And they'd have a lock on that rack, and they'd have somebody going around and checking it in the middle of the night and see if there's a lock on that gun. And I'm talking about in an army camp. And but they would have people who are assigned just to go around in the middle of the night when everybody's supposed to be asleep. But they would double check and triple check and quadruple check all during the night the locks on the racks on those guns. Why? Because they say somebody just might sneak in here and get one of these guns, and you don't know what might happen after that.
Yeah.
So we will kind of put a little bit of locks on these. You can't get in this ammunition room, without authorization. And don't go nowhere near there. And don't be pulling on those locks unless you are authorized to do so. And definitely don't open one of them without someone standing there saying, you can now go in there and get one of these rifles out of here, or one of these handguns out of here, or one of these grenades out of here, or whatever it is that can do some harm to somebody. And so, in answer to the question, yeah, you can talk about gun control. Hey, control that gun. Don't give that baby no gun. The baby's standing up in the crib waving a .357 Magnum. Hey, wait a minute. No. All right. See, so, yes, you can talk about gun control, but now white supremacy, and this is important. Don't talk about white supremacy to anybody who doesn't want to talk about white supremacy. but you can talk about justice. All right? Particularly on a job. Some people have said, Fuller, do I go around talking about white supremacy on the job? I say no. Why? Why not? Why do I say no? Because it doesn't work. That's why. You don't want to do anything that doesn't work.
Why
everything in counter-racist science is a science. In other words, everything that you do in science is something that works.
Well, why wouldn't that work?
Because it gets in the two words will get in the way of you trying to communicate. All right? Communication shuts down. I mean, when you use those terms, white supremacy, I mean, black people get nervous. You sit at some table at some conference and start talking about white supremacy. And if you don't believe it, try it. The black people would get nervous who are there. You're not trying to make people nervous. You're trying to communicate. So what do? According to the law of compensation, you do what works. And what will work better is you come to the table and say, ladies and gentlemen, rather than, you have in your mind that you're talking about white supremacy, but it's the words that you choose.
Okay.
So you stand up and say, may I speak, ladies and gentlemen? Is it my turn to speak? And always get permission to speak. See, always get people's permission to speak to them. Just don't start speaking to people, and they haven't given you their permission. You're going to get opposition right there. They say, yes, speak. Say what's on your mind. Say, well, what is on my mind is that we should be here to produce a product. Does everybody agree on that? And if you're there to produce a product, if somebody will say, yeah, we're here, we believe in production. Production of what? And you say production of a product called justice.
Okay.
So rather than talk about white supremacy, talk about producing what you want to replace white supremacy with. That's logical. And that's justice. And somebody say, oh, you want to talk about justice? Okay, old buddy. What is justice?
Right. What is it?
Yeah. Now you define your terms. Always define your terms. When you use a word, know exactly what that word means. All right? So you say, guaranteeing that nobody in this institution or in any other institution that we do business with is practicing non-justice.
I see where you're coming from, yeah.
All right?
Mm-hmm.
And also guaranteeing that the person that needs help the most in that very place where you work gets the most constructive help. Don't just try to sit around and try to figure out how to fire somebody like some people do. I've been on jobs where people did that.
Wow.
It's always trying to set a trap for somebody so you can get rid of them and think that that's... No, you're not getting rid of people. You're moving them from one place to another. And if everybody keeps turning the person down or won't give the person a job or won't let the person breathe or better themselves, what's going to happen?
Can that logically be discussed, Justice? Can that logically be discussed?
Yes. See what I mean? In other words, they say, let's get rid of this person.
Okay.
You need to get rid of those people down there in Section 4. All right? I mean, all of them. I mean, and get a whole new bunch in. All right. Well, the bunch that you got rid of, where are you sending them? They're still on the planet. Now, that just might be the person that comes back in there after they run out of options, and they kill everybody in the place.
Yeah.
All right? So you're not getting rid of people. You transfer people. So you always transfer people to a better situation from the one that they're in. Okay. People come in and say, well, I'll be leaving next week.
All right.
See, but that's the way it should be.
Got to leave that one.
You're leaving?
Yeah.
Say, well, where are you going? Say, well, I got a better offer.
Got to leave that one right there. Talk to him at radio.com, the world's greatest radio the way it should be heard. Thanks for listening. We'll see you in the second hour.
Thanks for listening to The Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller, heard exclusively on TalkTainmentRadio.com, the world's greatest radio.
The most important question in all racial matters is why. One should always ask it.
Radio, the way it should be heard.
You've got the power.
the world's greatest radio, TalkTainmentRadio.com. Talktainment Radio, worldwide sound. TalkTainmentRadio.com. We give you a reason to come. The world's greatest radio. We give you a reason to stay. Radio, the way it should be heard. You got the power.
The views and opinions expressed are those of the host and guest and not necessarily those of TalkTainmentRadio.com, the management, the staff, or K&E World Network, LLC.
Live call-in talk show. Dial 1-877-932-9766 and join the conversation here on TalkTainmentRadio.com.
This is the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller, heard exclusively on TalkTainmentRadio.com, the world's greatest radio. Radio, the way it should be heard. And now, Mr. Neely Fuller.
If you do not understand white supremacy, which is racism, what it is and how it works, everything else that you understand will only confuse you. Only confuse you. Only confuse you.
Alrighty, TalkTainmentRadio.com. We go where you go on the world's greatest radio. You are in touch with the greatest program on the world's greatest radio. That is the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller. I am blessed to be the co-host. This is Mr. Bobby, and this is also radio the way it should be heard. Our topic today is really cleanup, but we have Mr. Fuller has been answering your questions, and we're trying to work in or clean up the Gmails that we have, and it's going. We'd like to thank Roop Dog and Brother Dominic for your concerns. It's good. It's good. We thank you. We know how those usual suspects are. Do not want to get this message out, but we've been able to overcome that. To get in contact with the show, call 1-877-932-9766. Gmail me at the numeral 7, Mr. Bobby at BOBBY at gmail.com, or you can do this. You can see and hear the program by going to the YouTube channel, type in the word Talktainment, then type in the word radio, scroll down to Talktainment number 2 live on YouTube, and you can watch the broadcast while you are there. Hit the subscribe button and the like button, and also you can hear the entire program by going in replay by going to facebook.com/Talktainment, and you're able to hear the entire program. Now, this second hour is sponsored by you. Right now, we are in a period where the donate period. And what we would like for you to do is donate to the second hour production of the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Fuller. Mr. Fuller and myself are not paid for this. Mr. Fuller gets his monies from the raising funds from the book, which we encourage you to get. You need to get that book, which he will address at some point in this program. But go down to the TalkTainmentRadio.com homepage, and there's a button there that donate. We're not telling you to donate a specific amount. Do what you can do or what you want to do. Donate that. Now, these are some of the people. Our reoccurring donators are BW Gifts in Houston, Texas. Is Shauna King, Eric Williams, Helen Nance, Don Mitchner. Let's see here. Jane Lance. Spoke to her earlier this week. Brother Muko was doing it. Robert Slade, Yvonne Hawley, Anita Taylor, Dominic Monsieur. Thank you, Dominic, very much. Lauren Ghetto, or Godu, Christopher Miller, Brian McCarthy, Sade Harris, Cornelius Baker, Anthony McKean. He's over there in England. He donates to the cause. Donna Howard, Markham Smith. That's what it says, Markham Smith. Brian Gaston and Samuel Robinson are just a few. Oh, Tanya Potts. Just a few of the many people who have given. Ed gives me names periodically, and I will call them out just to let you know that we appreciate your donation. So keep that up for the second hour of the Compensatory Concept. While we're here, we're going to do an email here. Ed, could you show on the screen here for those who are on YouTube, Martina Big. Martina Big. I want people to be able to see this because one of our people have written in about this particular person. And Mr. Fuller, the reason why we bring this particular person up is that she was a white, maybe still is, I don't know, a white woman that decided through some injections by her physicians to be black, and she says she enjoys being black. Now, this is what she said. I did see some of the videos. I did see what she looked like. I'm efforting to see if Ed can get that on there. She is a married woman, but she wanted to be black. Now, Mr. Fuller, and looking at the photos or the video that I have seen, and maybe some of you who have access to your computer can look that up and see what she actually looks like. Mr. Fuller, this problem or question about her wanting to be black. What, in your opinion, even though I know you haven't seen this, but why would and I'm not saying that she is she could be suspected as being a white supremacist, but she wanted to be black and then had injections in her to actually change her skin color from white to black. Now, I don't understand that. Can you shed some light on that since you are full of years and you have seen many a thing? Why would a person want to do that? I know I would have to ask her, which I can't ask her that, but in your opinion, can you suggest possible reasons why a person who is supposedly white would want to be black?
I'll go straight to the code on that, like I do with everything. That's why I wrote a code. It gets under, you just use repeatedly one outstanding word in what you just said. You use W-A-N-T-S or W-A-N-T, want, okay? Why does she want to be black? All right? Now, only she can answer that question, but these are the questions that the code requires me to ask of that lady if I was talking to her. I would go straight to the economic section about wants, because economics, about time and energy, well, that's what economics is, how you use time and energy, and everybody wants to do something. Ants want to do something. Giraffes want to do something. Squirrels want to do something. People want to do something. People have wants. All organisms move around in such a way that they show that they're trying to satisfy a want. So this lady said she wanted to be black. She's classified as white. She wants to be black, and she's doing things to make her skin color change from white to non-white. Okay? So I would ask her the 4 questions that fit just about any situation where people want something. What do you want to do? That's the first question. It's 4. First question is, what do you want to do, ma'am? That's what I would ask her. Well, I want to be black. That's what I want to do. That's what I just told you. You know? Why do you want to be black?
Yes.
Why do you want to do it? Why do you want to do what it is you want to do? And don't interfere with the answer. See, I would just ask her, why does she want to be black? And don't interfere with the answer. That's a part of the code.
Okay.
You know, sometimes we ask a question, and then we'll start answering the question for the person.
Yeah, don't do that.
No, people, I find myself sometimes wanting to chomp at the bit and do that. I mean, but hey, once you ask a question, put a question mark behind that.
Okay.
That's a question. And don't say anything else.
Okay.
Until you get the answer. You want the other person's answer, not your answer. You already have your idea about what the answer is.
Okay.
But that's not what we're talking about here.
She said, I'm reading her email. She says, of course, now I didn't hear this part, but this is what this lady had written in said. She said that Professor Griff of the hip-hop group Public Enemy is noted for saying that racists hate us cause they ain't us. She said, I think there is something to this. There's a white German model/actress named Martina Big who had fair skin and straight blonde hair. Martina has been getting melanin injections and now has dark brown skin and dark curly hair. She said, Mr. Fuller, Now she does ask the question of you. She said, Mr. Fuller, where do you think her doctor is getting the melanin for these injections? And do you think the usual suspects are trying to make artificial black folks?
Could be. I don't. In answer to the first question, I don't know where she's getting the melanin, but the white supremacists probably have something to do with it, because you always suspect
Yes, sir.
the supremacists as knowing more than anybody else. Otherwise, they wouldn't have the power that they have. That's why, black people object to me saying that they're the smartest people on the planet. But you can't be a dumb person and be in charge of the entire world, and you're dumb. What does that make the rest of the people? See, we need to think about that, because a lot of people object to me saying that. They'll say, no, the white supremacists are not the smartest people on the planet. They ain't smart, They're just evil. I say, well, you can be two things at the same time. Okay? I mean, welcome to the real world.
Yes.
It's possible to be smart and evil at the same time. I mean, evil people can do a whole bunch of things to a whole bunch of people who are not smart.
Yeah, there she is on the screen here that Ed is putting up. Yeah, Ed is putting it up on the screen for people who are on YouTube, what she looked like before and what she looks like right now. I know you can't see that, Mr. Fuller, but she can. It's really something. I wanted to know, I know you can't answer this, but where is she getting where is the doctor getting the melanin injections?
Well, I just assume that you can always get stuff. In the system of white supremacy, if you're white, you can get stuff. I mean, you got all kinds of ways of getting stuff, because you got access to everything.
Okay.
There's nothing you don't have access to. There's nothing that black people have that they can say, this is mine, you can't get it. I mean, like one of the Sinatra songs, I mean, this is mine, you can't get it. And you're black and you're talking to a white supremacist. Black people don't have nothing that the white supremacists can't get, according to every evidence that I've ever seen or heard about.
Okay, now I don't know how
Now let's get back to this second question.
Okay, go ahead.
I just simply ask her, not where she's gotten the melanin. That's not what I would ask her. I would just stick with those four questions. Why do you want to be black?
Yeah.
All right. Regardless of where you got stuff from and to get black, I mean, or to get darker or non-white, why do you want to be black? See, we're talking about wants here.
Yes.
All right? And wait for her answer, because I don't know what that answer is.
Yeah.
I would just have to ask her. Okay? Then I go to the third question. How do you plan to get black? All right? To do what you want to do. You want to get black. How do you plan to do it? Well, apparently she's already taken care of that, because she got melanin, like the people say in this program.
Yeah.
She's already gotten the melanin. And she's already made her skin darker. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'm looking at the picture right now, and yes, she is. If you would look at this picture,
if you would look at her, you would think that she was a light-skinned black woman.
Man, that's exactly right.
All right. Okay. Now, so she's already carried out her plan. Okay. Now, here is the clincher question. What do you expect the constructive result to be?
Yeah.
All right? Because now, if you're a white person and you have made yourself deliberately look like you are something that you are not, because really now you are not what you were, okay, if you go by the color of the skin, all right? So someone has talked to me recently about that. They say, well, you can't even go by white people's white skin. I mean, to tell the essence of evil and all like that. Now that raises another question. If we're talking about dealing with white supremacy, if all white people are going to start walking around looking like they are black people, and you can't tell the difference between a white person disguised as a black person, because that white person is no longer white, now you really got what?
Confusion.
You better believe it. And how are you going to now have a system of white supremacy? Okay?
No, what do you mean by that?
Well, I'm just saying, if all white people turn black, where's the white supremacy going to come from? You just have a whole bunch of tribal warfare going on between black people if you got one going on at all.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Because now white people have turned black. All right?
And you can't tell who the enemy is now.
I mean, let's do the logic. I mean, what are we talking about here? See, I'm saying replace white supremacy with justice. That's what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. And you can always know when people are doing what. Then people are not guaranteeing that somebody's not mistreated. That's all you got to do.
Yes.
If everybody on the planet is the same color, okay, now, all you got to do is just think about justice. That's why I'm saying, if you just want to bypass talking about white supremacy, a lot of black people say, I don't like to talk about racism, and it's understandable. Well, what do you like to talk about? Well, I like to talk about justice. Well, go ahead and talk about justice, because when you're talking about justice, you talk about getting rid of racism anyway.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Because you're going to guarantee that nobody's mistreated. And you're going to guarantee that the person that needs help the most gets the most constructive help. So that's really no dilemma.
Okay.
All you got to do is just watch and see that the person is doing what? Practicing justice.
Practicing justice.
That's all anybody's got to do right now.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, before I move on, I will say this. I did watch one of her videos. Now, this is what she claims, that she's been treated in Germany better as a melanated person than she has as a white person. But that's neither here nor there, as far as I'm concerned.
There could be some questions I would ask. I say, treated by whom? And what do you mean, treated? Treated when you go where? When you do what? On account of you now have melanin.
So you're always in that question mode.
Yeah, well, wait a minute. I mean, now, if now she's being treated, she's getting better treatment by having melanin in her skin, and she's in Germany?
That's what she claimed.
Okay. Now I have a question.
Okay.
Does that mean that everybody in what we call Germany who has melanin in their skin now being treated better than the people who don't have it?
Ah, okay.
See what I mean?
Yes, sir.
I have always said the code, any code that works in the universe that has to do with problem solving, what's the process? Questions and answers.
Yes.
There is absolutely no problem that cannot be solved if you go through the process of questions and answers.
Yes,
because
sir.
all problems are solved through the process of questions and answers. And there is no exception to that universal codified rule. Stick with it.
Stick with it.
And a lot of people will say, well, how many questions do you ask? You ask, if it takes 15 questions to solve a problem, ask 15 questions. That's the logic. If it takes 15 million questions to solve one problem, then ask those 15 million questions.
There's no limit, in other words.
There's no limit.
Okay.
Because all problems are solved through the process of questions and answers. You can ask any inventor that, any person that builds a house, any person that does anything of any constructive value. If you're going to solve a problem, you're going to ask a lot of questions, and you are supposed to be getting a lot of answers. Otherwise, you're not going to solve that problem, period.
All righty. TalkTimeRadio.com is a 24/7, no charge, worldwide broadcasting facility with hosts delivering on various topics such as news and lifestyle, sports, law, health, wellness, religion, and politics. And here is one that I'm going to share with you. Hopefully I got it right. That is Talking Sports with Mr. Bobby. Yes, yours truly has a sports show that will premiere on this Tuesday, April the 3rd, from 6 to 7 p.m. And our special guest in the second segment, which usually lasts about 13 to 15 minutes, is the University of Minnesota's assistant women's basketball coach, Nikki Lowry. She will be in to talk about some things concerning it and to take your calls on that. So that's going to be this Tuesday, April the 3rd, from 6 to 7 p.m. Eastern Time on TalkTainmentRadio.com, radio the way it should be heard. Okay, as a matter of fact, all the shows that are on Talktainment Radio can be accessed by going to the talktainmentradio.com homepage, and you can click on programs and get the dates, the times, and a little bio on each person there. And while you're there, and this is important, hit that donate button for this particular hour, which is the second hour of the compensatory concept with Mr. Neely Fuller. It is because of your donations and your support that we are on for this second hour. Mr. Fuller does not get paid for that, and neither do I. So thank you for those of you who have done that, and thank you for those of you who are going to do that. As a matter of fact, the next email before I take the call is from a guy in England. He asked this, dear Mr. Bobby, are you taking donations for the compensatory hour at the moment? And if so, how do I make those contributions? Kind regards, Anthony McKinn. Yes, the second hour, yes, and it's it right now. Again, repeating, go to the talktainmentradio.com homepage, and down there where it says donate, that's the button you hit, Brother McKinn, and anybody else who's listening. Any amount that you want to. Just to repeat on that, we are taking those right now. All that comes from TalkTainmentRadio.com, radio the way it should be heard. All right, let's go to the phone lines. Topics has been cleanup, but of course Mr. Fuller is answering any of your questions. We go to line number 1. Okay, line number 1, you can be heard. Go ahead, please.
Good morning, Mr. Bobby, Mr. Fuller. This is Brother Muko from Baltimore, where we hold the compensatory constructive action discussions on Saturday, St. Louis Drive, every Saturday at 12 noon, across the street from Lake Clifton High School. My question for Mr. Fuller today is for my care unit in Baltimore, Mr. Fuller. Can you expound on sexual confusion and staying on code as far as sexual confusion?
Mr. Fuller?
Expound on
Sexual
confusion.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't know, specifically or how much to cover and whatnot, except just
the importance. The importance of staying on code. I'm sorry for interrupting, Mr. Fuller, but I mean the importance of staying on code as far as sexual confusion is concerned.
Oh, what does the code say about what to do about sexual confusion? Is that it?
Yes, sir.
I'm trying to understand the question.
Yeah, that's what he was talking about, Mr. Fuller.
Right.
Okay.
Well, what you do, you don't want confusion in any area of activity, not in economics. You don't want confusion in education. And definitely you got too much confusion in religion now, but the white supremacists are going all over the world saying what we need is more sexual dispersal. We need more scattering of sexuality. This thing about male female, I mean, that's that's static. That we're kind of frozen in on that. We have locked in on that. I mean, we got to explore other venues in our sexuality. So let's do a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and try a little bit of the other. And so you ask, well, why do you want to do that? What's wrong with male-female as the standard? Because that's what is recommended according to the code, male with female, and so that we can go. And we haven't done anything in that to make that correct yet, nowhere on the planet. You see all of these marches and whatnot right here in 2018, the people arguing about fights and disagreements between whom? Male with female, women's rights. You hear a whole lot about that.
Yeah.
You've been hearing about that. People are marching. This is 2018. And white people are marching. And black people, of course. And black females, being beaten up by black males. We haven't got the male-female thing straight. Now we're going to branch out and have about 30, 40, 70, 200, 800 different types of sexuality. just like the white supremacists are spreading all over the world now. I mean, about having, hey, in 1860 we had 3 classifications of race: black, white, and mulatto. According to whom? According to the white supremacists, because they invented that stuff. All right. Now they got what? 21 last count that I made, 2000, I think, the year 2000, according to in the northwestern hemisphere, in the different places, they got different classifications. They got 21 classifications since 1860. All right, now that's just talking about race. Now they're doing the same thing with sexuality. How many classifications do we have today? Today is Wednesday, all right, in March of 2018. And so the white supremacists will run that through the computer. Well, yesterday we had 18 classifications of sexuality that we're going to spread among the black people to improve their conditions. And you say, and okay, what's the projection for next year? Well, we got 18 now. Next year the projection is 52. 52 different types of sexuality to choose from for you black people. And you say, well, why are you doing this, sir? Well, it's going to improve things for you. You black people want to be improved, don't you? All right. Well, get on board with this. Listen to me. All right. You need to diversify your sexuality. I mean, there's something incorrect. Your sexuality is too limited. You talk about some male-female mess. I mean, well, you need to kind of branch out a little bit. I mean, all you ignorant black people all over the world, talking about some male-female. I mean, are you crazy? Male with female? Are you crazy? No. Well, sir, out of all due regard, what should a male do? He's got a phallus, and the female has a vagina. Oh, well, I'll tell you what. The white anus is the new black vagina. How about that, boy? Wow. Sir, what are you saying? Yeah, that's right. And the holy grail of all sexuality, as always, all you dumb, ignorant black people, the holy grail of all sexuality is what? The white female vagina. Black female vaginas are obsolete, boy. Have you heard? And you say, no, I haven't heard that, sir. Well, you just heard it now from me. And when I speak, that's God talking, right, boy? Yeah, okay. Let's do a little backslapping here. Let's do a little high five. Wow. You like that? Get on board, all you intellectual black people. We are going to disperse sexuality into thousands of different types of sexuality if we can get you to buy into it, to get you away from what? That black male with that black female, that's what. Because eventually that's what we're going to have to keep doing. We're going to have to make it real uncomfortable for that black female to be around a black male at all and having these little black offspring forever that's making problems for us that we're getting to the place we can't govern. So we got to disperse your sexuality where you will trade in all your sexuality for some fancy bling-bling around your neck, and you got no phallus at all because I cut it out like I did back in the days when I used to hang you black people up on a tree and castrate you. Now I call it not castration, I call it sexual alteration. Don't you want your sex alterated, boy? Yeah. Come on in. I can alter your sex, and not only that, there's a bonus that goes with it. If you spread that word around the neighborhood, I'll give you good money. I'll put you in the movies. I'll put you on television. All right. I'll give you a spot.
Thank you for your call, Brother Muko. TalkToMeRadio.com. Let's see, 1-877-932-9766 is the number you can call. Gmail me at the numeral 7, Mr. Bobby, BOBBY at gmail.com. Go to YouTube if you want to look at us, or look at me, because Mr. Fuller is not on YouTube, but you can see and hear the program by just go to YouTube and type in the word Talktainment, hit the space bar, and type in the word radio, and then scroll down to Talktainment number 2, live on YouTube, and you can watch the broadcast. And while you're there, hit the subscribe and share button. And when you go to the Talktainment Radio homepage. Make sure that you hit that donate button. This is for the second hour of the compensatory concept where it was produced. You do that, many of you have, and we appreciate that. Let's see, Yvonne Holly, Patrick Smith, Terrence Morgan, let's see here, Freddie Burgess, thank you. Brian Gatson, again, thank you. J.K. Towles, thank you. Tanya Potts, B.W. Gibbs, Celestiana King, Eric Williams, Helen Nance, Don Mitchell, Jane Lance, Brother Muko, he also gives to the program. Thank you in support of Mr. Fuller. Matter of fact, you just heard Brother Muko just a few moments ago asking a question, and with his compensatory care unit in Baltimore, Maryland. If you're in that area, make sure you go down there. But this is for this particular hour, the greatest program on radio, on the greatest radio station, right here, and you're blessed to be able to hear that. Don't take that lightly, and it's not something that I'm just saying. Okay, going to the Gmails. Mr. Fuller, a Gmail, and this person didn't want me to give the name, said, speaking about the LGBT community, Mr. Fuller, you said that the white male's anus, how is that possible that the white male's anus is the new vagina and that the black woman or the black female vagina is obsolete? Mr. Fuller, I'm confused. Could you elaborate on that?
I'm not saying it in those words, but part of the code requires plain language. That's what they're really saying.
Okay.
When they say, hey, let's all get out, let's get some flags and get out there in the street. And we want you black people to lead because, well, you know, you all are the leaders when it comes to the cutting edge of making changes in the world. In the spirit of Frederick Douglass, in the spirit of Fannie Lou Hamer, in the spirit of Martin Luther King, in the spirit of Martin Delaney, I mean, you know, and all of your great ancestors, and all going back, you know, you all on the cutting edge. I mean, you led the civil rights marches back before white people started marching for life, and the student movements and all that. You set the pattern. So join us in setting the pattern to improve. You black people need an improvement on your sexuality. Your sexuality is in bad shape. I mean, you got this thing of, you know, black male with black female. That's so old-fashioned. That's so pitiful. You people ought to be ashamed. I mean, and we're going to help you to change that. Now, when you talk about housing, if you talk about education, if you're talking about better employment, we'll get to that. We'll get to that somewhere down the road. I mean, that's secondary. But you've got to work on your sexuality. Your sexuality really needs working on right now. This is an emergency worldwide. And we want you black people to find new ways to express yourself sexually. Stop being so limited. You have always limited yourselves. Now, this is what the white supremacists are telling us. And the code says, no. No, wait a minute. No. Wait a minute. You say this is an improvement? All of this stuff you're talking about? I mean, you keep adding to the alphabet of sexuality. You have already added to the alphabet of race and gotten people even more confused than they were in the beginning, like you got all over that place called Brazil, I understand, where they got all kinds of classifications of race, all right? And I told people, Neely Fuller, I have said back years ago that California, you know, from all the indications that I was getting back in the 1970s, is kind of going to be, some parts of California would be the incubator for them coming up with changing all kinds of either the racial classifications or the sexual classifications.
You were correct on that.
It turned out to be the sexual classification.
Yes.
And it fanned out all over the world.
Yes.
And like anything else, when people are deceiving people, what does a great deceiver do? I'm not talking about an amateur deceiver. A great card shark. Has anybody ever seen even a pool shark? The movie The Hustler. I've told people, I've recommended that movie. How does a pool shark operate? a pool shark baits you in by letting you win a few games. All right? The white supremacists do the same thing. In order to get people to do something that they want done, the first thing they do it themselves. All right? You know, a real shrewd gambler, a card shark, will do what? Let you win a few games.
Yeah.
That baits you in. Now you raise the stakes. And that's when they take you to the cleaners. That's when they take your house and your car and everything. Now, the white supremacists are doing the same thing with black sexuality.
Yes.
They are running out there themselves saying, look at us. White people don't do anything that's stupid. So you think that we're going to put ourselves in danger with AIDS and all like this if we didn't think of something that is going to be revolutionary and good for everybody in the long run? Do you think that white people would be doing this? Look at us, boy. I mean, you're not joining us. You're holding back because you're skeptical, like we expect you to be.
Yeah.
You know, because we white supremacists have always run little games on you, and then later on you find out that you've been took, you've been had, you've been shook up, bamboozled. All right. So we're doing this ourselves, and we're doing plenty of it.
Mm-hmm.
So this should convince you. This must be something that is great.
Yeah.
This is the greatest thing that anybody came up, I mean, since outer space and computers and whatnot. I mean, you know, diversification in sexuality. That's what you should be centered on.
Okay.
Forget about education. Forget about economics. Forget about a better house. We'll get to that. You got to have that. But right now, you got to diversify your sexuality, you black people. That's what the white supremacists are telling us, folks.
Mm-hmm.
And we should back off and say, wait a minute. You go ahead yourself, sir, ma'am. We're not condemning it. We're not throwing rocks at you or nothing like that, or even speaking of you disparagingly. But you take this for the next 50 years and keep doing it among yourselves, and for the next 100 years or so, and we're going to see the results of what you are now saying is our salvation.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yes, you always want to improve on us.
Yes.
All right, and you're dumping all these hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars on every black person that you can get who will sign on for it. Okay? Because you're doing that now all over the world.
Okay.
All right? Black people, you can't talk about diversification in sexuality without adding some black people to it.
That's right.
And putting them right up front.
Right.
You are doing this when we wasn't even thinking about it. You came among us and start picking out people and say, hey, you lead this parade. I mean, take off them pants, boy. I mean, you got them halfway off. Take them off altogether. And then put on this dress. Put some more earrings in your ears, all right? And, you know, put some now. Add something else now, you know.
Yeah.
Add some lipstick. Okay, get a little eyeshadow there. Oh, you need something for your eyelashes.
Totally emasculation.
This is an improvement on you as a black person. That's what they're telling. Now we're going to cross over to the ladies' room, which ain't going to be the ladies' room very long, because I'm going to take care of that too. All right. And we're going to tell those black ladies, now see what your sons and your husbands are? They're around here looking around for something to, you know, they got their lips all poked out and whatnot, and they want something like, you know, some other male to take care of that. I mean, because their lips now are the new, you know, I mean, you know, it's taking the place of vaginas. I mean, you know, we told them that. Now, your son, your husband, you know, and what do you think about that, black lady? Now, the black ladies are looking at it and say, well, what are we going to do? I say, well, your vaginas are obsolete, black lady. I mean, they ain't good for nothing. I mean, that's just a bunch of junk. I mean, seal them up. Do anything. Hide them, you know, because black vaginas are obsolete. Now, if black vaginas are obsolete, then what's left? Well, you got the white vagina. Well, what is that? Well, that's the holy grail of sexuality. That's what everybody's going to wind up worshiping eventually, because there ain't going to be no other sexuality other than the white vagina, all right? And and the white male phallus, which will be resurrected down the line. But right now, the white male phallus is going into the mouths of black males, all right, who are welcoming that, okay? All right. That's the way they're going to get their strength.
Yeah.
And probably figuring they could become white by sucking white semen, all right, out of white phalluses. Let's be honest about it now. This is the plan that's supposed to be an improvement for black people all over the world. And they are pushing it 24/7.
Yes, they are.
And black people, some black people who are super intelligent about everything, are saying, yeah, that does sound like an improvement. That's what Marcus Garvey was talking about. Oh, yeah, that, the Negro Improvement Movement, that's what it's about, folks. That's all you black people. We're retarded. Let's run and catch up with that parade. All right? And the code says, back off.
Back off, yeah.
Until we find out what this is really about.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm saying this is just another white supremacist scheme for mass confusion.
Mass confusion. All right, let's do this here. There's a term that has been going on. It's called gentrification. Are you familiar with that term, Mr. Fuller?
Yes.
Okay. For those who aren't, it simply says it's the process of renovating and improving a house or a district so that it conforms to middle-class taste, an area undergoing rapid gentrification, the process of making a person or an activity more refined or polite. Now, I've been to Washington or the district, and I have seen a few things. Here in Columbus, Ohio, there has been a secret movement. I was in conversation with someone about this. It was about a 50-year plan that she was telling me about. But I've noticed in other cities that I have seen this going on, where it seems like they are renovating, particularly the downtown areas, and they are turning them into white havens with condos and businesses and so forth. And black people are being pushed further and further out away from the city. Mr. Fuller, what do you have to say about that?
Well, the white supremacists, that comes under, according to the code, and it's in the book, racial dislocation.
Okay.
All down since the beginning of white supremacy, keep them squatters moving.
Yes.
You ever look at the movie Shane and whatnot? I mean, the Riker brothers, they kept coming around saying, hey, all you potato farmers and tomatoes and potatoes, I mean, get out of here. I mean, because you're squatting on my land. All right, now they told what? The people who are called what? Red people, Native Americans, Indians and whatnot. They say, hey, you got to keep moving. They say, well, we just moved. Well, you're going to move again. Well, where are we going to move this time, sir? Well, it's a place out there that we're going to call the land of the red man. We'll call it Oklahoma, which means land of the red man. That'll be your land. Yeah, but it's nothing out there. I mean, it's not good hunting grounds. I mean, it's not the best place to be. That's where you're going. Get your rags together and get going. All right? It's called dislocation. Dislocation is not relocation. See, relocation is when you do something voluntarily. You say, well, I think I'm going to move from this place to another place. Why? Because it's a better condition over there.
Yeah.
And so when I came here to this place, this was a good place for me. But now the weather has changed in this place, and now the crops don't grow as well. And, and I can't do this and I can't do that. The water's drying up. So I'm going to move to another place. Now, that's relocation. The white supremacists cause dislocation among non-white people all over the world. Keep them moving. Why? Because they have found out something very logical. That's why people who are called gypsies are kind of looked down on. When I was a real smaller child, people say, well, gypsies are people that you avoid. And I say, gypsies? Who are gypsies? Say, well, they are people that move around a lot. They don't have a particular place.
Yeah, vagabonds and all that.
They just go from place to place and whatnot. And people run them out of every place that they go. Mm-hmm. I say, well, why do people run them out? They say, because they steal, they're dirty, they lie, they cheat. And I say, well, why are they like that? And I wasn't getting any answers, but then I said, well, it might have something to do with moving around all the time when you don't want to move. Okay? I said, yeah, people get to the place, they lie, they cheat, they steal when they're forced to move from one place to another. And they just settle in one place and just halfway get settled. And then I started noticing that's the way black people are.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah. We're the real world gypsies.
Yeah, come on, tell it.
Because the white supremacists, by the time you get a halfway decent job, and get a house halfway paid for, or about a third of the way, you never get it paid for because that's a trick too.
Yeah.
All right. Now, so, and here they come. Now we're going to, this place is getting kind of savage. That's what they really mean. And so let's gentrify it. Now just look at the term itself. Gentrify, meaning like gentlemen. We're going to make this a gentle place because right now it's all messed up chaos. Anywhere you find black people, because we always see to it that where black people are. Black people want to get away from other black people.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because what they do is give just a little bit to a few black people and absolutely nothing to the rest of them.
The rest of it, yeah.
And what you think's going to happen? Like I used to give this illustration. If you're the only person on your block that's got a job, and everybody else on your block is sitting out there on the curb when you leave your house, what do you think is going to happen to you?
You know what's going to happen.
See, I mean, it's real. And look at the whole world that way.
Yeah.
That's what the white supremacists do.
That's what they do. Let's take this phone
Right.
call. Caller, you're on with Mr. Fuller. What line, Ed? Line number one? Okay, line number one. Go ahead. You're on with Mr. Fuller. Go ahead, please.
Yes, good morning. Still learning. I have two questions.
Make them quick. Make them quick.
Yes, the first one, Mr. Fuller, can you please explain to the audience and to me how sex between a non-white person and a white person gives strength to the system of white supremacy?
Well, I've given this illustration over and over again because it's the best illustration I can give, because we are in a prison. So just envision this. I'm a prisoner of war. I got a sister who is also a prisoner of war. And there's a white guard who's a female standing outside my cell, because I'm in the cell, because that's where they put me. They put all black people in cells of some type or another. I mean, sometimes we call it jail. I mean, where you got bars, and that's what we call it. But you're also in a cell in what we call the hood and all like that, because they assign where you're going to be. That's what the white supremacists do. So every now and then, they come strolling in, and then they say, well, I'm going to have sex with you because personally I'm kind of taking a liking to you. But that's a prison guard. That's how you have to look at that white person according to the code. And so the prison guard turns the key, comes into what's been given. My space is really not my space. That's an assigned space. I don't have any control over it. I'm just given that space that the white supremacists say I got to occupy. So the prison guard, yawning and stretching, and the day is boring, say, well, let's have sex, all right? And down in the other cell block, they're doing the same thing with my mother and my sister. And these are all prison guards of my entire family. Look at it that way. And they're having sex with everybody in my family, including me. And then they say, oh, wasn't that good? And I say, yeah, we like sex. I mean, well, I gave you sex and whatnot, and I gave you some of the best sex because, I'm white, all right? So, so how you like that? And, I stepped down a little bit from my usual status by just being rolling around with you for a couple of hours, okay? Now, I'm gone. I'll be back, and we can do this again sometime. How you like it? You like that? Okay, well, you'll get some more, okay? So they turn the key. That's where the problem is.
That's where the problem is. Right.
They turn the key and walk away, and I'm still in that cell. And this is what happens when a black male is with a white woman who is supposed to be his girlfriend or his wife, he's still in jail, and he has been taken advantage of when she has sexual intercourse with him. That's the logic. Why? Because you're not on an even playing field. You're not equal. That's a prisoner of war being seduced by the prison guards, and the prison guards walk off whistling, feeling good. I mean, they're satisfied, but they roam all over the place and go on and do whatever they're going to do, and that black person is still stuck where they are. All right?
What's your second question, sir?
I'm saying you have to get rid of the system of white supremacy before there should be any sexual intercourse between white and non-white based on that principle.
Okay.
We are prisoners of war, and that means it's like what they now call child molestation. Because when you're a prisoner, you're what? You've been put in a childlike state.
Yes.
You're a child situation.
And all black people are prisoners, or they are children under the system of white supremacy. So when the white supremacists, the slave masters, have sexual intercourse with a slave, that's not improvement.
No, it's not improvement.
Yeah, you gotta let that slave go.
Let me try to get his second question. You got to ask it real quick because we're up against the clock.
Yes, sir. Well, it's just I just want to ask Mr. Fuller. During the civil rights movement, during the riots or whatever, did he participate in any marches or any sit-ins, and which ones? And which parts of the code did it affect? Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you.
No, I didn't. I didn't participate in any of them. And people will say, well, why didn't you? And which they should ask. Well, for one thing, I had the kind of job that I had to be on. Say, well, in other words, you took your job as a priority over marching with King and all like that. You didn't take no trips down south and all like that. And I say, yes, I didn't. I didn't. Oh, well, did you have anything against it? No, I was all for it. Well, why didn't you participate? Why are you waiting on Rosa Parks to sit down, Negro male? If somebody asked me that directly, for example, nobody's asked me that, but I'll just ask myself that. Fuller, why didn't you sit down before Rosa Parks sat down, all right, and said she wasn't moving, and giving a white person the seat on the back of the bus because you sat on the back of the bus, Fuller? Why didn't you? And I'm going to be honest with you, folks. I was afraid.
Okay, that's all right. You admitted it.
Miss Rosa Parks had nerve that I didn't have.
You admitted it. That's good.
You better believe it.
Yes.
And I didn't march with King because I thought I'd get killed.
Okay, that's all right. You admitted it.
Okay, and I'm admitting that. In other words, Fuller, are you telling me that you're afraid of these folks? And I'll say to the whole world, you better believe I am.
All righty. I got about a minute. Could you speak to your book here before we go?
Yes, sir. You can get the book by going to producejustice.com. That's producejustice.com. And what will come up on the screen is the method for ordering. And, you can get the basic textbook, that's revised, expanded edition that came out from 1984. And this one came out in 2016.
2016, yeah.
And then for the Word Guide, that came out in 2010, before the revised edition of the basic textbook. But you can get one or both of the volumes by going to producejustice.com. That's producejustice.com.
Excuse me, did you say the Word Guide came out in 2010?
Yeah, the Word Guide came out in 2010. It's right there on the cover.
Yeah, oh, okay.
Right.
Yeah, wow, okay. And did you...
I didn't think. I thought I'd rush that Word Guide out. And then, which I did. It was a rush job, but I had to get it out because, I don't know how many years I got left. And then I said, well, I might have enough years left to get out a revised edition of the code, an expanded edition, because I got some material that I didn't have in the 1984 edition. So I did a rush job on this, and I had somebody to assist me, a lady who volunteered to do it. And I'm very appreciative of her for stepping forward and say, hey, I can do this, and I can do it pretty fast.
All righty.
Now, she didn't get it done as fast as I wanted it done, but that's because she had a lot of personal problems and whatnot.
Yeah, I got that.
But she did have to get it out.
All right.
And, so here it is. ProduceJustice.com.
ProduceJustice.com. And don't forget, people, look up Claudette Colvin before Rosa Parks.
Okay, we'll see you next week. TalkToHimAtRadio.com, the world's greatest radio, and radio the way it should be heard. Thanks for listening. Thank you, Mr. Fuller.
Thank you.